Hi there, yours truly, Mr. Van Leeuwen here. Welcome to this short geography video in support of the globalization assignment. The aim of this video is to give you some extra tools and some extra help to really rock and roll with this globalization assignment. The manner in which I'll try to help you is by giving you an example. All of you have picked AT&C. In this video, I've picked Nike. And I'm going to walk through the exact same steps that you're required to take, 5 different steps as given in the instruction, and I'll tell you more about this particular company. So here we go. Introduction. Let me introduce Nike to you. I think most of you know Nike. Nike is a very big and very famous company. It's very big because it's almost located in every single country in the world. It's famous for its footwear, apparel, athletic gear, and its annual revenue is over $30 billion a year. That's an awful lot. But did you know that it actually was not founded with the name Nike? It was founded as Blue Ribbon Sports, which was back in 1964. And in those 1960s, they were still producing the shoes in a waffle iron. Yes, a waffle iron that you might also find in your own kitchen. And the waffle iron, it created a weird groovy pattern on the bottom of the shoe, and that pattern can actually still be found and is sort of something that made Nike quite famous. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna study especially their supply chain. I want to find out more like how globalized is Nike, is it really, how truly globalized is it? Well, I've got a research question to support that. So at the end of this video, I'll try to draw a conclusion and I'll try to answer the following research question. To what extent does the supply chain of Nike footwear resemble the model of the International Division of Labor? Well, to answer that particular question, we'll have to take a few more steps. First of all, the supply chain. The supply chain are all the steps that are necessary to manufacture a particular good. And in the case of Nike footwear, it starts with different raw materials, say rubber, leather, cotton, and those raw materials are being processed and then they're basically being converted in what we call intermediate goods. Not something that you would right away buy and it's like the final product, but it's the intermediate step to the final good. What intermediate goods are we talking about? Well, you get rubber sheets, the leather hides, and the cotton fabric. What will happen is they'll be brought to a factory and then they'll assemble everything. They'll put everything together. So that means the different parts will be stitched together or glued together, and step by step it will actually appear to become a Nike shoe, which is the final good. When we map this supply chain, it's not all happening at the same place. It's actually being quite international. So we start at Beaverton, USA. That's actually where the Nike headquarters is. So that's the designers thinking of a new shoe, thinking about what's fashionable, what people would like, what would be very comfortable, what would be very good for like real athletic performance if you're like having a game, a competition. And then they've got a plan. So, okay, we need different types of raw materials. For instance, they get the rubber from Indonesia, leather from Vietnam, and raw cotton from India. They're already doing some processing over there in those countries, just a very simple processing. But to really assemble the shoe with a slightly more complicated factory work, that's all being done in the south of China. There's multiple Nike factories over there that actually create the Nike footwear. And when they've assembled everything and the Nike shoe is finished, then it's being sent all over the world where it will actually be sold, like how I, for instance, bought my latest pair of Nikes in the Netherlands. When we want to explain this, when we want to try to understand why does it particularly look like that, why is it so international, well, we can focus on 2 terms in particular. Firstly, labor intensive. What you saw is that the raw materials that are being retrieved, most of that work is very labor intensive, which means you need a lot of workers and not a lot of people to actually do that work. And the same goes as over the factory work in China, as you can see on the left hand side of the screen. You can see like a whole work line with workers all doing the same, but it's a lot of steps they have to take. So that's labor intensive. The company Nike, of course, if there's a lot of labor, they have to pay a lot of salaries. So they actually move this to countries that have quite low wages, so that the cost of the product can be kept quite low. On the other side, you saw that the office, the headquarters, is still located in Beaverton, USA, which is where the knowledge-intensive work is done. So you've got the design of the shoes, for instance. On the bottom right of the screen, you can see sort of one of the board meetings of Nike. So that's like all the important people from the company trying to make strategic decisions on how to conquer new sales markets, on how to think of new products that people will like. So that can actually explain why the supply chain is international and why it's located in these particular countries. Of course, there's much more detail behind it, but let me just keep it to this. So let's see if we can try to draw a conclusion and if we can answer our research question, which was, to what extent does the supply chain of Nike footwear resemble the model of the International Division of Labor? Shown here on the screen is the model of the International Division of Labor. If we compare this to Nike, we could say it's awfully close. It says raw materials are mostly retrieved from periphery countries. While Nike does the same, most countries that you saw were either periphery or semi-periphery. Meanwhile, you saw that most of the factory work was being done in the south of mainland China. That is a semi-periphery country. And we saw the headquarters in USA, which is a core country where they were doing the design, the marketing, and actually Nike's sales market can be found all over the world. They're selling Nike shoes everywhere. But if you look where are most of the Nike shoes being sold, then yes, it is in the core countries. It is especially in North America, in Europe, particularly famous as well in Australia or Japan. So mostly core countries. Not only, mind that. So my conclusion would be that Nike's supply chain, which is very global, looks awful lot like the International Division of Labor. It's like exactly the same as most companies do. And to conclude this video, I would say I hope this quick example gave you some extra support. And finally, I just want to focus your attention on the assessment table once more. Have a quick look. How will it actually be graded? What will determine my score? And I just want to focus you to this part of the table once more, because I always call these the easy points. Source referencing. You know how to do that. Use footnotes. Every time, if I can wonder, says who, if you gave me a number, if you give me a statement, I want to know your source. Add it in the footnote. If you just add it all the time, you already get 10% of your final score. I'm also going to look at the quality of the sources. Are they reliable? Can it actually be fact-checked like that? Always very wise to use multiple sources to confirm your statements. And then in the bottom of the assessment table, you can see obviously language. Try to write it as professional as possible. Your target group is other year 3 students. And then the layout, make sure it really looks nice. Make it like a complete paper with a front page, table of contents, and then all the steps. Good luck. Bye bye.